Hi everyone, and welcome to another webinar with Influence Agents. I'm Matt Hodkinson, and this one this week is all about video prospecting and sales. We are very fortunate to be joined by Yaniv Siegel of Vidyard this week, and I'm going to be introducing him very shortly so that he can present some of the strategies and tactics that top salespeople are using to grab attention. We've all become inside salespeople. It's been forced upon us by the current situation. And if you're watching the replay back, to put some explanation around that, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis, of course, and we're all self-isolating. So hopefully we're going to give you some amazing tips today. I know that Yaniv has got some tips up his sleeve, and we're going to send you away with some specific tactics that you can adopt today and beyond. So I'm Matt Hodkinson of Influence Agents. Yaniv is the EMEA Sales and Partnerships Head at Vidyard that produce and provide the top sales video technology. This isn't a sales pitch today. What we're going to be doing is just sharing best practice and some of the statistics around why video is so important, both in prospecting, but also through the sales funnel. And even touching a little bit on how after sales customer service can fuel more business as a result of using video at that part of the process as well. So if people that are joining us are working in sales at the moment, whether you're using video in prospecting and sales or not, you're in the right place for the next hour or so. So why are we here? Now I did this on last week's webinar that we produced on SEO and content strategy. And just to reaffirm, what we usually do, if we're allowed to, is we'll be holding our monthly breakfast seminars. We get together at the Gherkin on the 38th, 39th floor, something like that. And we normally have a bunch of eager in-the-room prospects that we're talking to and helping to get up to speed with the latest accelerated inbound marketing and sales tactics. We haven't done webinars of vast amount, I have to say, until this was forced upon us. Another use case for video, but in this case, just to grow awareness, to be helpful, and at this time especially, just to impart some of the knowledge that we've acquired over the years. We've become somewhat unconsciously competent in a number of different areas, and this is really about sharing what works for us, what works for top salespeople today, and as a result, obviously, we hope that you're going to go away having got some value from your interaction with us today and from investing this time. So here's the agenda for today. We're going to start off by discussing why should we be using video in the sales process today, especially now in the current situation, but even beyond the COVID-19 crisis, which hopefully we'll be coming out of very soon. These tactics and strategies aren't going to go away. They are going to be useful for a good while yet. We're going to be sharing example sales video, as well as discussing the key factors for success. What are some of the things you should bear in mind for getting the best possible result from using video in sales? We're going to show you how to get started in 3 easy clicks, and it is that simple. Literally 3 clicks from getting yourself up to speed with connecting with your prospect and having something that you can drop into their inbox. It's going to be literally a couple of minutes and you're away. We're going to be discussing, as I say, video throughout the sales process. So how can it support better results both in prospecting, in mid-sales and after sales as well. And we've got a little bit of a competition we're going to run. So there is a reason to stick around until the end of the broadcast, because we're going to put up an hour of one-to-one free training with Yaniv at Vidyard to improve your video sales skills. And you've got to earn it though. And I'll explain a bit more about how you do that a bit later on. We're going to finish off with a quick sweep up of your questions and get you the right answers at that point. So let's get into it. What I'd like to do is kick things off by making it a bit more interactive. And we're going to start with our first poll. So I'm going to launch that now. And what we're asking is, for what purpose or purposes are you using video in your marketing and sales today? So that should pop up on your screen now. Please get your submissions in. And let's see where you're scoring yourself. So are you using video in prospecting? Are you using it in sales presentations, demos, proposals? Are you using it in after sales? Are you producing marketing explainers and how-tos? Testimonials and social proof, that's a popular one. It's a multiple choice, so you can tick more than one. So tick all the ones that apply. Customer service, and then any other usages that you might have. And then that very important one at the end there, we'll see just how many noobs we do have with us. We don't use video just yet. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds just to tick the boxes in there. And we'll end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thanks for submitting. It looks like, actually, just anecdotally, a lot of you are using video at the prospecting stage. And there are some other kind of later sales stages, perhaps, that you're not using it there. And we do have a handful that aren't using video at all yet. So I'm sure all of you are going to pick up some good tips today. Right, I'm going to hand over control now to Yaniv. So I'm going to stop sharing. Yaniv, you should be able to start sharing your screen now instead.
Yep, coming in right now. Just making sure, Matt, if you can let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, I'll stop there.
All right, perfect. So what we're going to start with, first of all, is, and once again, great to have you all here. What we're going to start with now is answering first the question of why use video in the sales process at all, and also specifically right now, right? And the first thing that you probably just saw in that slide, B2B sales, B2C sales is hard. Right? And if we look at why it's hard, this is a study being done every year by HubSpot. It's called the State of Inbound. If we're looking at the #1 challenge that salespeople consistently in the last couple of years say the toughest thing in the sales process for them is it's hard to connect or get in touch with prospects. By far, every year it is the #1 challenge. And the reason why it's difficult is also obviously very clear, is because everybody here that's on the call and everybody that we're trying to speak to are super busy people, right? We have phone calls, we have meetings, we get messages on Slack, right? We have our one-on-ones, we have Zoom calls, etc. So it's very tough to actually cut through the noise, right? And another very interesting statistic is that for the people that are in sales here on this webinar, you're reaching out typically to a type of decision maker, right? We're reaching out to marketing directors, sales directors, CEOs, CMOs, CTOs, CIOs, right? People with decision-making power. So we've looked at, back at HubSpot and also from data within Vidyard, we actually see that on average, a decision maker in these industries, right, that both Vidyard, HubSpot, and various verticals actually work in, decision makers get anywhere between 50 and 100 prospecting emails a week. Okay, talk about a lot of noise, right? For the decision makers that are out here on the call, right, on the webinar, you probably get a lot of those LinkedIn messages or things in your inbox, and your radar is so fine-tuned that you see my name is delete. That's what we see. It gets ignored massively, and it also obviously gets deleted or not responded to. It's very hard to actually get a foot in the door, okay? That's a first observation to start thinking, okay, there must be a better way for us to actually cut through this noise that is not just another prospecting email or another text message or another email that just gets ignored and forgotten within an inbox while people are super busy, okay? A second very interesting statistic here, and this is especially true in the time we're in, both Netflix, Disney, YouTube, and various news channels are actually saying that the video consumption right now in this COVID era is at an unprecedented time, record levels. Obviously, partially that's because we're entertaining our family, right, as we're trying to work. But also we are just seeing that because people are staying at home, people are consuming a lot of video content right now in their daily lives. Cisco is saying, and this is the statistic that you're seeing here at the top, 82% of internet traffic will come from video by 2020. We know that this is true, right? Everyone, in the end of the day, we're all on Netflix. We see it in blogs or in news articles. Every second post on LinkedIn is a video. Matt had a really cool one, right, to promote this this webinar here.
I won't get that far.
No, it was fantastic. It was really good. We're on YouTube, and I mean, stories, everything is visual content, right? And specifically right now in this COVID era, when people can't meet each other face to face, we are drawing towards visual communication and visual content. So the interesting thing, and where there's a really big gap right now, is that in B2C, so in our daily lives, we're consuming video like never before. So if we are, so do our prospects, right? And so do our customers. Yet if we look in the B2B side of things, or not necessarily B2B, but in the business side of the conversation, we are still using old school techniques that are just regular text, barely have visuals in it, right? And we're not communicating with our prospects and customers in the way that our prospects and customers are primed to consume content, which is visual content, right? So the main message I'm trying to get here, your customers and your prospects are primed for video. Yet if we look at the sales process, we're not using any type of visual content to actually engage with them, right? Specifically now, when people can't meet each other face to face, video is a very powerful tool to actually communicate on a human level and serve up content in a way that people actually want to consume content, which is visual, okay? So we're gonna look at some examples in a moment, okay? So this is some high-level observation. I wanna give you some interesting research and statistics for you to actually also start looking into, and okay, great, video might be a tool, but does it actually have impact and effect? So a first piece of research that I'm showing here on the screen, SalesLoft, it's a sales acceleration tool. They did an analysis over 4 million sales emails, where they benchmarked 2 million emails that were just text-based and about 2 million emails that had video in their sales communication. And over the aggregate of all industries over worldwide, they saw an increase in response rate and also opportunities generated rate that increased by 26%. Okay. Now, if you think, all right, 26%, is that a lot or not? Maybe it sounds a bit underwhelming, but if we're thinking about 26% right now over a year as we're building pipeline, right? Imagine that you have 100 opportunities on a yearly basis, and suddenly we're actually having 125 opportunities. That can mean that extra 2, 3, 4 deals down the line that can actually help overachieve and hit your growth goals, as opposed to what we're doing without using video. So that's an initial statistic to start looking at. A second one, which is way more powerful, is actually results. So that are much more in-depth. So I want to walk you through these, okay? So first of all, back in 2017, when I was back working at HubSpot, and some of you will know HubSpot, I ran a pilot using video in my outreach to end clients. That was during the summer of 2017. We're still free to roam in the world. And at that time, I sent 197 videos to prospects that I didn't know, okay? And I benchmarked that to also 197 people that I didn't use video with. And I want to talk you through some big differences in response rate and actual engagement rates that should bring some green flags for you to start considering to start using video in your sales process as well. So the first element is click-through rate. So the number here says 92.6%. So that's actually a lie. It was more 76%. The reason why it's 92.6% is I used to click a lot on my own videos to check how they're doing, so I would skew up the numbers. Okay.
You Google yourself as well, Yaniv.
That's what I do. Yeah, you got it. Very good. Exactly. I was just trying to figure out, is this good, right? And I was trying to figure out, does this work? But at that time, the analytics got messed up because of it. But it's still the actual rate for filtering myself out watching was 76%. So a question that I'm actually going to pose here in the chat for the people, and if you can, try to find the chat in Zoom. I'll give you a moment here to find the chat. Let me ask you this question. Assume that you're sending 100 cold prospecting emails to new potential customers, cold, they don't know about you. And in that email, you have a link, a text link to a case study, or maybe to your website, or maybe a demo video or something like that, a hyperlink, right? And you send this to 100 cold prospects. If you can type in how many of those 100 people are gonna click that link, just a text link, just type in the chat what you think. Okay,
4%, first guess.
10%, 8%.
Low numbers coming through.
low numbers. And then in the Q&A, somebody put 2%, then we see 15%, then we see 1 to 5%, right?
5,
So,
yeah.
Right, so it's everything is roughly between 1 and 10, right? There is one outlier a little bit above, right? If you're best practice, you get about a click-through rate of about 11%. And this is obviously dependent on how well your brand is known, etc. So there is a variance there, but best practice is 11%. Anywhere between 5 and 11% on this click-through is a good rate from a sales perspective. We have benchmarked this at HubSpot. This was 76%. So out of 100 prospects that we're sending this video to, 76 people click and engage with it. That's a huge delta, huge uptick.
Have you seen any change over time as well, Yaniv? Because I mean, I'm very conscious, and I'm sure a lot of the attendees will be, that in marketing and sales, what becomes ubiquitous, what we see used more and more, tends to become white noise, tends to become less effective over time, as well as channels. You know, whatever channels marketers adopt, it kind of gets ruined for everybody else. How are you seeing that kind of go over time? Is it still that video as part of the prospecting process is a novelty? How do you see that kind of working in the future?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So if we look at the adoption or the bell curve, right, of adoption of this technology and using this right now, this is in Europe, right, in the UK, but in Europe, right, Western Europe, this is still very early innovator mode. It's very, very early innovator. Think about yourself, right? Who of you has received a prospecting video in the past 3 months? Right?
That doesn't happen.
You could say, right? You can, if you want, you can put it in the chat if you have. I'd be surprised if there is anybody there, but it could be, it's possible, right? Because more and more starting to use it, but very, very few at the moment. It's still very early. We are projecting at Vidyard that it's going to become much more ubiquitous anywhere in a range. It's difficult to make this estimation, but anywhere between 2 to 3 years. We're still seeing that it's in an early innovator mode in North America, which typically is 2-3 years ahead of Europe in adoption of new technologies in their sales cycles from what we've seen historically. And still there is very early innovator. So yeah, it's a good question to figure out, okay, so what do we do in 3 years? Well, maybe it's then we need to start dancing or start doing something weird to grab, to grab the attention.
Isn't it? Yeah, I mean, because let's face it, there are organizations out there that still have fantastic results from email and even cold email. Correct. And still others that have a fantastic rate when it comes to cold calling. So, I mean, it isn't the channel necessarily. There is a novelty factor. But I think it makes us better marketers when things do become the norm. They become part of business as usual. That we have to elevate ourselves above the competition. We have to get comfortable now. And I would argue that it's those that are jumping in with both feet right now, starting to adopt these tactics and strategies. Not only are they going to get the early wins, but also they're going to be better prepped for when it does become a more competitive space.
100%. And the whole idea in the end is to inspire you all to start using some free tools to actually be ahead of the curve and be one of those first in your industry that really sets you apart and makes you unique in this process, right? So that's a very good point, Matt. A second piece that I then want to draw attention to, which I think is equally important, sorry, I just went to the next slide there, is response rate. So another question for everybody to put in the chat. So again, cold prospecting. We're sending 100 cold prospecting emails to see if we can get in touch. Percentage-wise, how many responses would you get right now? Type it in the chat if you can. 10%?
10% response. 3 to 5, 0.5 to 5. Similar numbers, some a bit lower.
Yeah. So response rate typically will be lower, right, than click-through rate. We see a spread of anywhere between 3 and 8%, depending on the industry. That is the standard here. And I just want to mention that, right, because we're here looking at a response increase of 5 to 6x to those numbers. Okay. So that should be another green flag for you to start thinking, okay, first, more people click on it and engage with me. Secondly, way more people respond to me. I'm not saying that means immediately more meetings, but and so the salespeople among us here, I'd rather get a no than a nothing, right? Because a no means not now, so maybe in a couple months, right? So that is another green flag to consider. Much more responses, and then actual meetings delivered came from some revenue was generated back in 2017. Okay, Then what I want to draw your attention to is some results here of a sequence that I used back in that time. And for the people that don't know what a sequence is basically an automated set of emails to actually follow up automatically on an initial reach out that you're doing via email. So you do a prospecting email 1, 2, if no answer or response within 2 or 3 days, email 2 goes out automatically, and then email 3, email 4, email 5. That's what you can do, okay, to accelerate your outreach and your touch points. So the reason I'm showing that is that I would enroll 122 people here in this outreach in a 5 email sequence. So 5 emails go out in about of a span of a time of about 2.5 weeks, okay? At that time, the reply rate was 38% over that total sequence, okay? But what's more important is the actual meeting booked rate into my calendar, people booking time with me to actually speak with me, which is 8%. So out of 122, that's roughly 10 meetings, okay? So to give you an indication, and it's not going to be the same for everybody here, back at HubSpot, for me, my sales team, and the team that at some point I could manage, we would be sending out 20 to 30 videos in a 5 email sequence out a day. Okay, so we would be sending out 100 to 150 videos out a week per person. Okay, so if we do that and we got 10 meetings a week out of that, we do that for 4 weeks. That's 40 meetings a month, right? That's 450 meetings a year, roughly 500 meetings a year. You think if you get 450 to 500 meetings a year into your calendar, you're going to hit your quota? Most likely, right? Now, obviously, a couple caveats here. We know that this was a very targeted campaign, right? This was within HubSpot, which in some motions is a known brand, known product. Sometimes it's much tougher. But the whole main takeaway that I'm trying to get for you to get out of this here is that the response rate and the actual meeting book rate will grow consistently if you start introducing video into your sales process. And we're going to look at an example in a moment, but that's the main takeaway. More people engage, more people respond, and more people off the back of it book meetings, which then sets you up to actually generate more deals and close one revenue from this. Okay.
And Yaniv, I think a lot of people will rightly be thinking right now, that sounds like a lot of work producing that volume of videos. But as we're going to show them today,
yeah,
actually it's a lot less work than you might be thinking right now. So if you're thinking, I can never do that number of videos, it's too much work, they've got to research the prospect before we reach out if we're going to get the best possible response. I mean, we're going to be giving you some tips about how to kind of expedite that process. But when we show you how simple this is, and once you've got comfortable with the idea of putting these videos out there, putting yourself out there on screen, then it becomes a doddle, doesn't it?
100%. It's a very good point. The whole idea is that this needs to be easy, fast, quick for you to do. And the only way to get results is start doing it. And then once you start getting results, wow, this video is fantastic, and you start getting meetings and you get that positive reinforcements. I started getting that after the first couple of videos back in 2016. So obviously I'm going to be sending out a lot of videos if I know that it responds really well to my prospects, right? So the last piece here, and I won't touch too much for the people that are in a closing role as well within sales. Back in 2018, I closed 48 deals. 35 of those came purely because I introduced myself with a video and then used video throughout the sales process. So 73% of my entire number was because I used video in my process. At that time, there was about 315K in software, but that's irrelevant because it depends on what you sell, obviously. Okay, so that's me, and I wanted to use me as an example because at HubSpot, because I was able to do that, I was able to then train an entire sales force of Vidyard, of HubSpot, to use Vidyard as well and video in their process. So that's 300 sales reps. But what I want to send you later on is to actually look at some case studies of other companies in various industries that have shown and actually said that they've seen similar types of results. So HubSpot in general actually said, not just me, but multiple teams, we've seen an increase of 4x of more opportunities for HubSpot. League, which is another software company in Canada, I believe, and also in the US, a 3x in response rates, and actually help them focus on their target accounts. Dynamic Signal has a very interesting use case where they say it increased response rate, but then it also reduced meeting cancellations. Those people that say, yeah, sure, we'll book time, and then they never show up. By using video, actually, we reduced the response rate. Why? because they see a real human and a real face. It's much more difficult to ignore and not show up for somebody that you've seen and that you have some kind of connection with, compared to, you know, another sales rep on an email.
And you mentioned there on the league example, Yaniv, around the most engaged prospects. I know that ABM is a big strategy that is gaining momentum over the course of the past couple of years. Video in conjunction with ABM in this way, that's just a, you know, perfect storm really of tactics and approaches, isn't it?
Correct. So the way it's used in ABM, obviously there is a specific narrative to say towards a specific role or a specific person within an organization you're trying to target. So you can be very specific in what you're saying, which makes it so hyper personalized to those people that the response rates go up very significantly, right? And the second piece is that you can, and we'll look at it in a moment, you'll start getting notifications of actual video engagements. So you'll start seeing who is actually watching my video. Are they watching it for 100%? And act on that. So we'll get to that in a moment, right? But that's gold. Because if I know that Matt watched 100% of my video, 5 minutes later, I'm on the phone and be like, hi, Matt, how you doing? It's Yaniv, great acting skills. What did you think of my video? And then Matt's going to be like, why are you stalking me? How do you know I watch the videos? And I'll be like, yeah, I'm your stalker. That's true. And then we have a nice, fun conversation. And that's a completely different type of inbound conversation than a cold outreach where the person is like, why are you bothering me? How do you get my number, etc. Compared to, hey, it's me from the video. They already made the connection with you, which makes them set you up for having a really nice conversation down the line. Okay, so what I want to do now is let's look at an example of what that actually can look like. Okay, and then I'll actually afterwards show you, like as Matt was saying as well, how easy it is to make it in 3 clicks. We'll talk about best practices to do this immediately as well, so you go through that curve of adoption quicker. Okay, so I'll actually go out of present mode here because I actually have an example ready here. So this is a video that I, for example, would send. I would copy paste this in an email, which would show up as a thumbnail with the image. They would click on it and would be brought to a page where they can actually watch this video, which is here. The use case here is I took HubSpot as the company and Nathan, fictitious, as a person that I'm targeting. And the trigger was that Nathan registered for a webinar of HubSpot, or a Vidyard webinar, teaching them how to get through the COVID era and how we can give tips and suggestions. That's a talk track there. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Let me actually turn off my headphones so you can hear it properly. One moment.
Hi, Nathan. Good morning. How are you doing? It's Yaniv here, Vidyard. I hope all is well with you over there at HubSpot in the UK, and that you're keeping healthy and safe, and that you're watching this video in a comfortable location in your house, being at your office desk. Maybe it's a cupboard, maybe it's a bedroom, but either way, I hope you're getting through these times okay. Reason for the reach out in the video is I saw that you had registered for our webinar where we help customers and people in our network with giving them tips and suggestions how to actually get through these specific times in terms of marketing and communicating with their customers, but also how to work specifically with a remote workforce. We have a lot of data and best practices on what works really well, specifically for software companies similar to HubSpot. So that's why I thought, hey, let me reach out to you and ask what is currently a focus for you going through these times in your communication with end customers and maybe within your own remote team. We'd love to see if I can give you some data and insights on what we see works really well and help you further there. That's really the goal, to see if we can help you through these specific times. So I will actually put my calendar link in the end of the video. Find 10-15 minutes whenever you're available, and then I look forward to see if I can give you some insight and best practices on what we see works really well, and hope that's valuable for you too. For now, I wish you a great day over there in the UK. Cheers from Dublin. Stay safe and be in touch. Bye-bye.
Nice and simple. And actually, I mean, a lot of what we're looking for here as well, Yanni, we've got to make it easy for the prospect. And so talk to us a little bit about the fact that your calendar is now showing in the video player there.
Yeah, so the reason why the calendar is in the video here is obviously I try in this case, right, to create a human connection. Immediately you're trying to show your face, try to offer some value in this specific video. So what you want to do is give a call to action straight away. And the call to action in this case, especially the salespeople among us, we want them to book a meeting with us. That's the objective here, right? Within the prospecting motion. So what I do here is immediately I give them an opportunity to convert and actually book time in my calendar. To bring that back to the slide that we looked at before, right? Why I get a 8% meeting booked a week rate, right, from all those videos is because there is a calendar that immediately makes it easy for me to book time, or for my prospect to book time in, okay? Yeah. So that's a very good point. But what's more important, right? And this message is slightly different, right? Because it's a bit more trying to be helpful and trying to be empathetic, because we are now in very specific times, hard times for some people, and being outright salesy is kind of a no-no in many industries to do it right now. So it's all about being helpful. So I just wanted to show a message that could be an example. But the whole idea here is, and why this works so well, is this is what we call a pattern interrupt. Right? If I'm targeting Nathan, who works at HubSpot, and he sees a smiling Yaniv trying to prospect, that he sees his own website in the background, he thinks like, okay, great, click. That's interesting, right? That's why 76 people out of 100 people click on this, because there's something unique that makes a standout compared to all those other people that are trying to prospect into HubSpot and Nathan that are just doing another boring email. Hi, my name is Yaniv. I work for company X, right? Nathan thinks delete. But if he sees a nice video with a human interaction, that is what sets you apart, and that is the whole motion.
And obviously some people won't be in the web space necessarily. It won't be relevant to them to share their client's website. But yeah, I know that, I mean, you've used so the piece to camera where there isn't a screen share and it's just you talking to the webcam, and you can set the thumbnail. I've seen a lot of people using like an A4 whiteboard with hi, name, just to grab their attention. Again, it's that personal touch that lets them know that video is for them. It's not just some one-to-many kind of communication.
Correct. So this is an example where they see their own website. For some, it doesn't make sense. So what we see is exactly, and I'll show it to you in a moment, what that looks like. You can go full screen, where just you hold a sign, right, saying, hi, Matt, click here, or nice to meet you, click here. We see also people that instead of using the website as the background, for example, they take the prospect's LinkedIn. And then the video is like, hey, Matt, I'm on your LinkedIn profile, right? I see you're a managing director of Influence Agents. We work with a lot of agencies. And like that, use that as the trigger. Right? Yeah. So there's a bunch of use cases that you can use. So before I show the use case, I want to give you some best practices on how to make this work and why this works so effectively. Okay. And then we'll get into the 3-click motion of how to actually start doing this. So I'll just go back into present mode. Just give me a moment here. Should load.
Ever work with technology, children, or animals?
Yeah, well, it's all good. Perfect. Here we go. So key factors. And this is specifically for prospecting. And in a moment, I want to inspire you to start thinking outside of prospecting. But the main use case where this initially is used is in prospecting. And these key best practices are based on a lot of data that we have of thousands and thousands of people using video in their outreach to end clients. So the #1 factor for success to get a response is completely nonverbal. And that's why it's also the #1 item here. It's to smile. Okay, it's to actually be friendly and open. Right. So we A/B tested that, where we looked at people that are smiling in that video versus the people that are super focused and narrow and kind of maybe look semi-angry, if you will. They don't get a response. Obviously, a semi-angry person won't get a response, but a person that's open will, right? And because smiling is associated with being friendly, is associated with trust. It's the analogy is this: when you meet somebody face to face or now on Zoom, right? You always try to be welcoming, open, and warm to start and have a good conversation. So that is you're probably 50% already there to get a response if you're smiling and friendly.
To build on that as well, Yaniv, I know that I've seen a lot of people now using tools like Vidyard, and it's the eye contact as well, because the temptation sometimes is to look at the screen, whereas of course you should really be looking into the webcam. You can be effectively looking into the souls of your prospects.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. If you're not comfortable with the webcam, you can put a little post-it, right? And I'll get to that in a moment, right above it. Look here, right? And then it looks as if you're looking at the camera. So yeah, that's a very good point, right? It's immediately like I'm looking at you guys right now, like that. The funny thing about smiling, just because we did a bunch of tests there, we gave some tips on people to smile. And then we also had a subset of videos that were sent where people were like literally overdoing it. And it was like this maniacal Joker-like smile where people were like constantly smiling. I was like, all right, tone that down. So definitely don't go that direction. Just be friendly and open, and that already sets you up really well, okay? The second piece is, and that's why it's the number 2 item here, it's the script. And what I mean with the script is not really to have it sound like a script, but especially if you're starting to adopt this and starting to do this, and this is new for you, the number 1 thing that works really well is to, and this touches upon the post-it, is to have, and this is what we used to do, and we train people in Vidyard to do the same, is bullet points with a sticky note. Very simple, with like 4 or 5 items of things that you want to say that you can use as a pointer for what you're going to say. It really helps to structure it without you just having to think, oh, what am I going to say, and just stumble. Okay, so that's very, very effective. Okay, the third piece here is to make it really personal. Super important. Okay, so what I mean with very personal is, and what I did in the video as well, right? I try to make it a bit light. I say, hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this. Maybe it's a cupboard. I have had people on Zoom being in a cupboard, right? Some of you might have had as well, right? To hide from the other people on phone calls. So I try to maybe throw a bit of lightness in it. Also saying, hey, Matt, hope you're doing, hey, Nathan, in this case, hope you're doing well in the UK. Hope you're dealing well with this, and really trying to connect on a personal level. And only after that initial 10 to 15 seconds, roll into, hey, the reason for my reach out is. It's a very important distinction, because we have A/B tested and seen the people that what they do is, hey, I thought I'd make a short video. My name is X, my company is this. Go straight into their pitch, if you will. They don't nearly get as much response rate as the person that takes 10 or 15 seconds to build a little rapport, one-way rapport or asynchronous rapport. And there's a bunch of ways you can do it, right? You can say, I hope you're staying healthy and safe. If it's a good, on a Friday that you send a video, I hope you enjoy your weekend, that you have some nice plans. On a Monday, you can say, I hope you enjoyed your weekend, that you enjoy the great weather in London or wherever they are, right? And talk about, hey, hope you're doing well. Influence agents, or name their company, right? Or if you saw on LinkedIn, for example, they just posted a really cool post. Say, hey, I saw and read your post. This is the post, and you can literally show it in the video. Now the person, the prospect, feel, wow, this guy or girl really spent time learning about me.
And the reality is, of course, you know, finding out those kinds of insights only take 2 or 3 minutes. So
Correct.
In terms of preparation, 2 or 3 minutes, find a nugget on which you can, you know, produce some sort of hook, perhaps something that you share as an interest or a point of view that they're putting in one of their posts that you can align with. And then, of course, if you're keeping, I'm jumping forward to your next point there about keeping it short. You know, in the space of 5 minutes, you can have gone from research to recording the video to having something to share in an incredibly short space of time.
100%. So the whole idea when we say keep it short, actually, we also have data around that. Sweet spot is 60 to 90 seconds in Western Europe. In the States, it's a bit shorter. Their attention span seems to be even shorter. But in Western Europe, we see 60 to 90 seconds. Why? So why do we know that? Because we can actually measure in analytics, we can see, are they watching the whole thing? We see after 90 seconds, it becomes too long and it drops off the attention span. If you do too short, 30 or 40 seconds, you definitely don't have enough time to be personal enough to actually get the response. So that's the sweet spot, okay? The fifth point is also super crucial here, is to say it's provide value. But what is very important to make as a distinction here is provide value, but don't actually give the value. So it's more about offer value that you can give to them, but don't give them too much in the video, because what is, in a prospecting sense, the main goal of that video is to get a meeting in the calendar, to have them on the phone or have them on a Zoom call. So this is what I mean with that. If you are saying too in-depth, right? Hey, I'm company X, work with similar companies to Y, that's completely fine. We help with problem A, B, C, and then you start going in too deep in depth into how your solution solves, two problems arise. Problem number one is you give too much value. The person thinks, oh, that's interesting, thank you, click. They leave, right? Because they felt, oh, you gave me what is interesting and I'll research it later. You didn't create a trigger for action, which is a meeting. A second, more larger problem is if you go too in depth or start giving tips and suggestions too specific, you might shoot yourself in the foot talking about something that prospect at that point doesn't care about or is not focused on. So best practices is to try to offer value, but try to stay broad. So what we mean with broad is to say something like, hey, Matt, hope you're doing well. We work with a lot of, or in HubSpot, we work with a lot of similar software companies to help them generate more leads or help them optimize their payroll or help them, whatever your product of service is. Wanted to see if that's currently a focus for you. I know that's a struggle for a lot of people. I have a lot of data. I have a lot of best practices. What we works really well in your industry to save time, save money, right? Optimize processes. How about we get in touch and tell me what is a focus for you, and then I can maybe share some insights and we can see if I can help you further. See what I did there? I didn't really give a lot, but I did say, hey, we're an expert, right? We work with similar companies. I have a lot of data, which a lot of you do, right? On a specific problem that you're solving. And then you're offering to say, hey, how about we speak for 10 minutes and see if that might be valuable for you? That's what gets the motion of getting the meeting booked. Now combine that with a maniacal joker laugh. No, I'm kidding. A regular laugh, right? With a regular laugh or a regular smile and being open and friendly and personal. That's what triggers and gets you the response. Okay. Then piece number 6 and number 7 are very important as well. So we're gonna put in a moment, we're gonna put some contests in place for you to start trying this out. And in the beginning, you'll maybe do a couple takes until you feel like, okay, this video is good enough. And that's completely fine because you're learning a new motion for a lot of you. But to Matt's point, what he was saying before, you can research, record a video, put it in an email and send it in about 5 minutes, max 10 minutes. Okay. But if you start taking 7, 8, 9, 10 takes until you feel, oh, this video is finally perfect. Now suddenly you're spending half an hour, 40 minutes and making one video. That is definitely not a way to make this a scalable approach. So the whole idea is this: forget perfection. Okay. Uhs and ums and stumbling a bit is completely fine. And I would even argue, not argue, we have data that shows that as well, desirable.
It's human, isn't it?
So exactly, it's human. And so we actually measured people that were super buttoned up and had that kind of slick kind of video compared to people that were a bit more open, bubbly, and like conversational. They got a higher response rate in some of our small tests that we did around this. Okay.
And also, you mentioned if you do have to go through those countless takes to get to where you need it to be, actually, you make it more of a repellent exercise. And that's when I find a lot of people we've tried this with have kind of fallen out of the idea. They've fallen out of loving the strategy, of adopting it. And that's when they kind of back away and just revert back to whatever they were doing before.
100%. That's also a very good point. And a second piece that to think of how to look at this from an analogy perspective. A lot of you would leave voicemails. You got one shot for a voicemail, right? There's no second take, right? Sometimes you think like, crap, that was not too good of a voicemail, but yeah, it is what it is, right? And it's kind of the same thing. Like, hey, record yourself. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. Send it out. If you're friendly, open, and try to be helpful, that message comes across. Like Matt just said, that's the human message that you're trying to really create. Yeah. And then, which nicely ties into the last point here, is to try at least 100 of these, right? So with everything, there's a learning curve, right? And we'll be hopefully this helps, right, to get through that learning curve quicker. But to try at least 100 of these is not a lot, right? Salespeople that have a full focus on prospecting, especially you can't meet people face to face anyway. You can't call a lot of them at home anyway. You have a lot of time right now to start making these videos. You should easily be able to make 10 to 20 videos a day, easily. This can be done in a week or two. And for the people that are not just salespeople, but they're in marketing as well, or they do account management as well, you can start doing 5 a day.
Yeah. My tip to throw in there, Yaniv, would be, when this hasn't happened for me, it's because I've run out of prospects or targets. It's a great idea to build an exhaustive list of targets that you want to go after before you start this process. So, if there were a step 1, that would be a great thing to have. Now, all of you will have email databases, prospect lists that you've acquired or you've built up over time. Perhaps you've bought in prospect lists, wherever it's from. However, obviously you go over those that you've got a better connection with first, that you've got your own prioritization, but it's imperative that you've got those prospects there, that you know who you're going to be reaching out to before you can reach those numbers. Yeah,
it's key. So what you said is an initial point, right? You need to have a clear list of people that you want to go after, and then you can just execute, right, as a machine. That's a very good point. So what I want to do now is I want to show you really quickly how you can get started. 3 clicks, okay? Literally, okay? So let's have a look at that. I do see that I am a bit slow, but it should be all right. The number one thing to do is, first of all, is Vidyard Chrome extension. Okay, so it's a free Chrome extension. You can make unlimited videos, unlimited length. Okay, you can use that for free. So that's the first thing to download. We'll send you the resources for you to get started with this. So it's literally a tool you add to your Chrome extension. It's that little green robot you see here at the top. Okay. Then once you have a person, Nathan or Matt, that you want to reach out to, in this case, I'm just taking a website, but you can also use a LinkedIn profile or something else, right? First click, open the Chrome extension, open the VBot, we call it, because it's a little robot, Vidyard bot. And now you'll see immediately a layer of video right there, ready to go, right? You can choose, let me just actually click the chat here away, so it's a bit easier to see. You can either choose this, right, to have a layer like this, or you can do cam only, if you will, for the brave souls, or that want to show a sign, for example, or already know the person, so you can communicate like this. Okay, typically what we recommend is you in the corner and something compelling in the background that triggers them to click. Okay, so that was click number 1. Click number 2 is you press record. Okay, and now it starts counting down. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what's happening right now is that you're actually seeing a recording here in the bottom corner. You see the seconds, and when you're done, that's when you press stop, okay, which was the 3rd click. And that's it. Okay, so you can scroll to the website. That's it. And you'll see now in a moment, it will load up here. There it is. Video ready to go. Now I can be like, hi, Matt, short video for you. That's it. What we can do now is we can press on share, and there's a bunch of, and I won't show all the motions right now, but we can put it in an email, in Gmail, Outlook, so it shows like a thumbnail. We can share it on LinkedIn if we want, as a post or in a message with somebody you're already connected with. You can push it to Twitter, YouTube, right? It's literally ready to go, okay? So it literally is 3 clicks. Click 1 is you open it. Click 2, you press record, and click 3, you press stop. And a video is made for you, ready to go for you to actually start sharing. That's it.
To that note of the different channels there that you mentioned as well, Yaniv, I'm sure we've got a lot of people on the webinar today. In fact, in the chat window, if you don't mind just put the word yes if you're using LinkedIn as part of your outreach strategy as well. We've talked a bit about putting these videos, lots of yeses coming through. Put lots of videos in the email strategy. What we've also done is we've put outreach into LinkedIn InMail. In fact, I know that some of the registrations today came through, my own LinkedIn network and outreach to sales and marketing directors. If you can go into the InMail, if you've got that first line connection and you post a link to a video like this that you've recorded through Vidyard, it retains that preview. So if you use the animated thumbnail, the GIF, they're going to see that in their InMail inbox. It's another channel for them to see it in, and I would argue it's even potentially got the potential to be raise that eyebrow a bit higher when it comes to getting their attention. So it's not just about email. You've got all sorts of other channels available to you in that respect.
Here, so this was me doing a reach out. I just literally pulled up my own LinkedIn inbox. Right here, you see me smiling. I have their profile in the background, in this case of Akeem. He didn't answer yet. I'm going to follow up with him. So that is literally how it looks like, what it looks like. Okay, very straightforward. So it literally is share, push it into LinkedIn, press LinkedIn. You'll be able to post it or into a personal feed or a private message. Okay, so What I'll do now is and I know we're running up a bit against time, but I want to start thinking and inspiring you in a couple minutes of where else in the sales process we can start using video other than prospecting. The main focus today was video in that initial reach out, specifically because we're all at home. Everybody is kind of like an inside salesperson, but some of you are marketers, some of you have a dual role, some of you an account management role. I want to give you some other tips and suggestions of where to use it as well, okay? So prospecting, that's where we looked at, right? And an interesting motion here is that we can start also connecting prospecting behavior to marketing automation workflows. So we can, for example, do something very interesting, that if somebody watches a prospecting video of ours or hasn't responded to us, we can trigger a workflow based in our automation or our CRM that notifies us, hey, we sent a video, but he hasn't responded to us. Maybe nurture him with additional videos, to give an example. There's a lot of use cases there, okay? Won't get too much into this right now. What I wanna focus on is on some mid-sale videos. The #1 use case in mid-sale videos is sending videos out with proposals or quotes, okay? So pricing proposals, so just like you're seeing here on the right corner. Why? First of all, you're doing something that no one is doing, right? You're making the process completely transparent. Hello, Mr. Prospect or Mrs. Prospect. Here's how we discussed. This is the start date. This is the product you're going to buy. You take them through the video. This is what you're going to get. This is how you complete the purchase. And this is the next step to start onboarding. Make it completely transparent. A more important reason why the #2 use case is to send you video proposals is, and we all hate this, especially on the sales side of things, is you're speaking to your contact person, you send out the proposal, then that contact person goes to the board meeting, right, to the CFO that you haven't spoken to. Sometimes you will, but often you won't, right? In the old days, we lose complete control of the deal there, right? We just send a proposal. What does the CFO do? Goes to the last page. Okay, that's the price. Okay, no, thank you, bye-bye. We're cutting our budget right now. So what video is doing very good, it allows you to regain control in those conversations behind closed doors that you can't be part of. So what salespeople are doing, they're recording a video, okay, of the proposal, and they send it to the prospect. They say, hey, prospect, a quick recap. From our conversations, this is your challenge or your pain. This is our solution or the products and services that are going to solve this pain. This is the pricing that justifies that solution. And here's the actual quote and proposal. They send that then to the contact person, who then share and then ask to the contact person, how about you share this with the boardroom or the management team or your boss, etc. See that? Now suddenly you also start getting notifications of more people watching the video. You're like, okay, great. They're all aligned now. They're all seeing the value prop instead of just going to the last page just to see the price without knowing what we're solving.
And you know that they're all getting the same consistent message as well, Yaniv.
Correct.
That's massively valuable.
Very, very valuable. Other use case for mid-sale is mini demos, especially if you have a product or software or maybe a machine or something that you can actually show, okay? It's very powerful to actually, instead of booking another meeting and waiting another 2 weeks until somebody is ready to have another conversation with you, you make a short mini demo or a short mini walkthrough of whatever it is that you're selling or positioning. Now you're actually moving a deal forward that shortens the sales cycle. Very powerful. Or a recap. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, it was fantastic. Thanks for having me in your office. I understood that this is problem A, B, C. This is what we're going to solve. Our next session is next week, where we're going to look at a solution of how we're going to solve this for you. No one in the industry is doing this right now, but it humanizes the process and makes you stand out from competitors that definitely are not doing this. Okay. I won't get into post-sale now. There's a lot of stuff on the account management side to do ticket resolution, sending videos or portal reviews and renewal conversations, or just dealing with a bad experienced customer and humanizing that bad experience. Say sorry, make a video. We'll be sending more resources. What I want to end here is, and I'm going to give some time back now to Matt to do a last poll for everybody, and then also introduce a contest for everybody to bring out the inner Hollywood, just so we're staying in a time frame here. So I'll stop my share here. Matt, go ahead.
Thanks, Yaniv. So I'm going to just launch the poll on screen while I bring up my presentation. So where in the sales process do you feel you could benefit most from video adoption? So you should be seeing that on screen right now. Let me know what you think. And I think most people are answering prospecting right there.
I'm just also answering.
Yeah, so Neil asked, if you're sending a video mid-sale, for example, to explain the proposal, how long do you recommend the video should be? A complete run-through or 90-second summary?
Yeah, so I answered just there. There is no benchmark there. It's completely dependent on your use case and your industry. For prospecting, we know the best length is 90 seconds. Mid-sale, it's completely dependent on what kind of video it is, what kind of solution you're positioning. Best practice there is try to be concise with your offering. Don't do a 20 or 30-minute video, but it can range anywhere between 2 and 10 minutes, depending on your situation.
Great. Thanks, Yaniv. So I just want to highlight a few resources. Now, I know that I'm not going to expect you to jot all these down. What we will do is send these to you in an email, so you'll have all of the active links. There's a whole bunch of resources from both Vidyard and organizations like HubSpot to help you get more from video sales. There's a couple of places, Yaniv, on the Vidyard website. I know there's the Inspiration Hub, which that is absolutely amazing resource to see what others are doing, how they're being more creative in their prospecting and use of video in other contexts as well. And there's all sorts of training available on the Vidyard Academy as well. So we'll make sure you get the links to all of that, and you'll be experts in no time. But to give you a bit of a jump start, it's competition time. So here's what we want you to do. And as mentioned earlier, Yaniv has generously offered to spend an hour one-to-one with the winner of this competition. And what we're going to do is have you record a 90-second prospecting video. But what we want you to do in that video is to tell us why you want to use video in sales. So we just want you to keep it to less than 90 seconds. Tell us why it should be you, and send that by email to me, matt@influenceagents.com, and Yaniv, that's yaniv.siegel@vidyard.com. We are going to judge who the winner is, and the winner will receive that 1 hour's free training with Yaniv. Let me be honest, nobody does this, but this is a massive opportunity to get a jump start on your rivals and to upskill in video sales. So let's face it, if you do this, send us your 90-second pitch, chances are you're going to win it. So do it. And we're going to set a deadline of this Friday, because we know that as soon as you get off this webinar and you get back into the swing of things, if you don't do it soon, it's not going to happen. So get it to us by this Friday, close of business. We'll put you into the pot. Yaniv and I will have a bit of a confab over who the winner is, and we'll notify you by response. I just want to leave it open 1 second for a bit more Q&A. Just to tidy up on any others. So either in the chat or in the Q&A section, just make sure that you post any last questions that you got. And while you do that, and while we see if anything's going to come through, you'll be able to reach us afterwards as well, of course, with any questions that you might have. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, Yaniv, for spending the time with us today, taking us through that, your 4th webinar. Hopefully that's your last one for a little while now. You'll be able to put your feet up. But thanks for sharing what is an incredibly valuable set of tools, tips, and strategies. And I hope you guys got a lot. The chat is alive with people saying that it's been very, very useful for them. So listen, go forward, get video into your sales process. And I know that it's going to work a great deal for you. Our contact details are there if you want to reach out to either of us. And we're going to be back to you once again very soon with our next webinar. Thanks again, Yaniv.
Thanks, everybody. It was great. Get your Hollywood going. I look forward to that. And if you have any questions, just let Matt or me know. We would love to get you going with this and start using video effectively. Happy to help in any way we can.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us. We'll speak again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.